Well, I have sad news to report for those who don't know yet. But after the coronavirus, okay, let's go all the way back to the troubling season for the Lakers with the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant, which was very difficult. Then followed by the coronavirus stopping the season immediately after the Lakers start hitting strides, beating the Bucks, beating the Clippers, and then all of a sudden the season is stopped shortly after that. So, it was tough for many of us to go through all of that time without watching the NBA to follow to see what's going to happen, because at that time, the Lakers, even at that time, were leading, the Western Conference with the number one seed. And, LeBron James making strides towards perhaps catching or capturing the MVP over Giannis, over the Greek freak. Giannis, I don't even know how to say his name properly. But nonetheless, Antetokounmpo, whatever. Yeah. So it's easy just to say the Greek freak. But it's very sad because we went through a long period, for those who love basketball and love the NBA, we went through a long period of not watching games and waiting for games to start again. And then finally, after a long period of waiting, the games, began to start again. And then some of us were disappointed with some of the players that were not joining in because they wanted to stay out for whatever reasons, whether it's family reasons or whether it's for, the Black Lives Matter issues, reasons, whatever. And so some of the teams, like the Lakers, were affected by people like Avery Bradley sitting out and being a very important part of the starting lineup, especially from a defensive standpoint, sometimes from an offensive standpoint as well. And so going into the bubble, the Lakers looked pretty bad, without Avery Bradley. So many of us began to worry and wonder how would the Lakers actually do once they reached the playoffs. So nonetheless, they did capture the number one seed and sealed the deal. And then when they went into the playoffs, being beat by the Portland Trailblazers, many of us, we've been on an emotional roller coaster here. But then after the Lakers got it together and it seemed like they were making strides again and now getting back to the level that they were just before the break, now all of a sudden all of the teams and, many of the teams started boycotting because of the killing, that happened with Jacob, So now here we go again. I mean, yes, there is social injustice and these things need to change and things need to stop. Initially, the players were saying, well, if they just keep using the media as their platform, to speak out against it, they were content with that. And I guess eventually it just wasn't enough for them. It's like we're talking, but things continue to happen, even while we're talking. So I guess they felt like, well, talk is not enough. Now we need to do something. We need action. So that's what's happening. So I think many people can sympathize with the fact that they're taking this to another level to try to get change, made. So many people can sympathize with that. For many of the fans, we're like, well, can't we at least finish the season, and hopefully they'll make that just as a statement, boycotting one or two games, but finish the season. And then when the season is done, they can get out in the streets. They can do more things actively. Of course, now whatever is done will not remove what already happened. He was shot and paralyzed. We can't change that. So what we're looking for is change for the future, now and for the future. So hopefully they can use the boycott, 1 or 2 games or whatever, as making a statement. And it would be nice if that statement actually gets some results. But if the statement doesn't get any results, players should consider the possibility of finishing out the year, because the Blazers are going to go home anyway if they lost the next game. So we're going to be getting down to, 2 teams, that will be playing. This is the first round. You got the second round and the third round. So eventually we're going to have just 2 teams playing anyway. And those who want to go home, they will be going home. So really, to finish out the season, now that they have actually gotten into the playoffs and started the playoffs, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, you protest 1 or 2 games, but continue and finish the playoffs. So the teams that are kicked out or lose, they're going home anyway. And then the last 2 teams playing until we get a champion. And then they're all going to go home as well and then do whatever they want to do, as LeBron was working towards the political process to make change. But also, before the election, everyone will be going home anyway. So let's, possibly use this as a means of making a statement. But it seems that we should also try to finish the season, and achieve something that can be achieved. And then the other things that can be achieved after, I guess, what the main thing, I guess you can't really fault a lot of people, because they're like, well, we have to hit their pocket. So you got to respect someone who's taking a stand that they believe in it to that extent, that even a championship is not important. That's what they're actually saying at this point, that the NBA season is not that important, and winning a championship is not that important. It's not more important than what we stand upon and the change that we want to see done. So, in that sense, how can anyone really argue with that? But again, if they're able to get some change within protesting 1 or 2 games or whatever, then they should definitely consider going on to finish the season, to finish the playoff season, and to get a champion. But if they see that even 1 or 2 games is not enough and they need to, protest for the whole season, take off the whole season, then of course we can't argue with them, because it's their money that's being lost and the championship that is given up for those who had the possibility of winning it. And look forward to next year. If change is made, and then next year, we're going to have some serious competition next year too, because KD will be back in the mix, and hopefully AD will stay with the Lakers, so they can possibly make another run for it in perhaps a more normalized season. So it's not really a total, loss or bad idea, if there's no other way. So let's support them in what they're trying to do, and let's hope that it gets some results. And if worse comes to worse, let's look forward to the next season and hope that at that point we'll have a more normalized season with Avery Bradley present, AD staying with the team, and then we can see really who deserves to win, who really would win in a more normalized season. And hopefully LeBron James will still have his health up to par and be able to play at the level of play that he has been able to thus far. All right, so that's it for our update. The season has been postponed until later notice.